The drowned still speak. The departure. It was the morning of April 10, 1912, when the Titanic stood waiting in Southampton. The air was crisp, the kind of cold that seeps into your coat and settles on your skin. A faint mist rolled in from the harbor, clinging to the docks like a hesitant farewell. Seagulls wheeled overhead, their cries sharp against the murmur of hundreds of voiceless passengers, dockworkers, porters, and those come only to wave goodbye. I stood there with my satchel in hand, watching her. The ship was impossible. The way her hull loomed over the water, black paint gleaming, her name carved in gold, Titanic. 4 towering funnels rose like the smokestacks of some industrial cathedral. She was a city unto herself, dressed in steel and pride. And yet, as I looked at her, a thought crept into my mind, an uninvited thought. She looks like a coffin standing on end. It wasn't a pleasant thing to think, and I tried to shake it off, but it stayed with me. I was not traveling for pleasure. I was a journalist, working for the New York Herald, sent to cover the Titanic's maiden voyage from England to America. A grand publicity stunt for the shipping line, but an even grander human story. Over 2,000 souls on the largest ship in the world, crossing an ocean that had swallowed many before her. The gangway was crowded. Families pressed together for last photographs.
Porters shouted and hurried up and down with trunks, crates and hat boxes. A man in a brown bowler hat sold postcards with the Titanic printed on them, calling out, "A memento for your journey, the greatest ship afloat." And then, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed him. An old dock worker, hunched and thin as if the wind had been blowing through him for years. His coat was patched in places, his cap pulled low. He wasn't shouting, he wasn't working, he was just watching. Watching the Titanic the way a man might watch a condemned building before it falls. As I passed, he spoke without looking at me. "Dead water," he said. I slowed. "Pardon?" His eyes flicked toward me, pale and sharp. "That's what she's crossing. Dead water. It don't forget the drowned, and it don't forgive the living." I almost laughed. It sounded like something out of a sailor's tavern tale, but his face was not one of jest. The kind of face that had seen storms, wrecks, and maybe worse. Before I could ask what he meant, the crowd pushed me forward. A whistle blew, long and deep, rattling the air. The ship's horn, a sound that seemed to vibrate in my chest. And then I was moving up the gangway, swallowed by the Titanic herself. Stepping aboard was like stepping into another world. The air changed, warmer, scented faintly with polished wood and fresh paint. The deck stretched wide under a pale sky. Crewmen in crisp uniforms moved briskly among the passengers, their white gloves and brass buttons catching the light. First-class passengers were greeted and escorted inside. Steerage passengers, like the ones from Ireland and Eastern Europe, were guided toward the lower decks. The ship was a floating hierarchy, but from the promenade you could not feel the weight of it, only the thrill. I was lodged in second class, which suited me fine. My cabin was small but tidy, with a narrow bed, a writing desk, and a porthole that looked out toward the docks. From it, I could see the faces of those who had come to see us off. Wives, husbands, children, waving, calling, some already weeping. The whistle sounded again. A vibration ran through the floor, up the walls. The Titanic was alive now, her great engines waking. As we drifted from the quay, the crowd's waving became frantic, as though distance had already turned us into memories. The band on deck struck up a tune, light and jaunty, trying to disguise the solemnity of departure. I stood at the railing, notebook in hand, writing the first lines of what I thought would be a bright travel piece. That was when I saw him again, the old dock worker, far back on the quay, standing perfectly still while the rest of the crowd moved. And though we were nearly 100 yards apart, I could swear his lips moved, shaping words I could not hear. But I understood them. "They are waiting." We sailed past the Isle of Wight in the early evening. The light was gold, the sea calm. Passengers strolled the decks, admiring the ship, taking photographs, talking of New York and the glittering life ahead. But I felt something else, a heaviness in the air. Not the weight of the ship nor the sea, but something unseen. A presence that pressed just enough for the skin on my neck to prickle. It was then, leaning on the rail and staring into the water, that I thought I saw shapes beneath the surface. Faint, shifting shadows, keeping pace with us. Perhaps fish, perhaps tricks of the fading light. And yet, I thought I saw arms. I turned away quickly, telling myself I was tired from the day's travel. But a thought lingered, one I would not write down. What if the old man had been right?